Lisa?
Yep. Okay, I did just bring copies of our fiscal summary from last year. And I want to thank you guys for your support as usual. Very much appreciated. I guess I just, in looking at the fiscal summary, if you have any questions, it does show that we ended the year with a balance, but majority of that is actually insurance money that we received when we lost that building in February. And we never got the beef barn and the show ring fixed yet. Kind of by the time we got the new building up, cleaned up from the one that we lost. And then of course the flood kind of ran out of time. So we do still have that on our plan to fix that yet. Both buildings had damage, and when we looked at it, it was something that needed necessarily to be fixed before fair last year, but needs to be fixed this year. Like I said, we had not probably the best year with Mother Nature last year, as we lost the Family Fun Center that we called it, the building, and that was in February. And so I'm sure you guys have seen that we built a total different kind of building. When we looked at what kind of building we wanted to rebuild, we looked more at what we could utilize at our fair, as that building was so big and it didn't seem to give us a lot of purpose. Of course, we were able to have a lot of storage in the old building, but so we rebuilt with something that was more open. We could use the covered areas for different events, as well as had a very big stage in there that did come useful because we needed it for the Queen contest last year and the fair, the Little Miss, because of the rain. And then come fair, of course, everyone knows that the fair board and the volunteers and the city of Sac employees seem to help volunteer and work literally around the clock to get the floodwaters to get pumped out of the fairgrounds until fair came. Even though we had a lot of rain for fair, we still managed to come out on the positive side, I guess you could say, which helped us kind of start and look at this next year. As far as the 4-H end of why, basically the reason why we're there for fair, we currently have like 175 members, which is very good numbers for the size of county we have. And also 6 years ago we started hosting an area show, because 6 years ago we looked at, okay, all the fairs are getting smaller, the county fairs are getting smaller, and what can we do to be sure that if in the future we are able to keep all the county fairs in the area, that maybe we could be a central site. And so we started this area show. That was the first year I started my job there. Last year we had 20 exhibitors from area counties, and just Steph and I have talked that some of the counties don't necessarily not push their exhibitors, but make it as well known that they could come to our fair and show. So that's going to be something we try to do this next year to increase the numbers. But that brings money to the county, brings money to the fair, to the vendors, and helps our livestock counts. And just recently we attended the State Fair Convention. There was probably 5 of us. And we went with the intention of trying to find entertainment for our fair that was maybe different than we hadn't had, kind of try to mix it up a little bit. But we found that when we were there that some of it's so expensive that we couldn't begin to afford it anyway, and that there's not a lot out there that we don't already offer. For the next year, we're planning on having the tractor pull on Thursday. On Saturday, we're going to have the rodeo, and then we've booked a singer named Glenn Templeton from Nashville. He's going to perform afterwards. Chuck wagon races are on Sunday, and as of now, we still have Friday night open to try to determine what it is that we want to fill in that spot. As well as always have the things that involve our local kids, Queen contest, Little Miss. Last year we had 9 Queen contestants, so that was very good numbers. Kids Day, the volleyball tournament. And I think one thing that I found since I started working at Extension, and I've always known this being on the Fair Board side of it, is when you talk to area counties, there's not always the good working relationship between the Fair Board and the Extension, which we have, and we're happy to say. We have an excellent 4-H program, good exhibit numbers, static and livestock, and we have really good grandstand shows and entertainment considering the size of fair we are. So I think that we should be proud to have the fair that we have and the Fair Board members as well because of how hardworking and dedicated they are. At our last Fair Board meeting, the board did vote to ask you to consider increasing our funds by 3%. So that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
One thing, I think it's pretty obvious, and if you've been down past the Fair Board or fairgrounds, you've noticed that we've started to renovate the entire infield in front of the grandstand and rework that track. We were lucky enough to find some extra dirt to help us rebuild that, and we're kind of still in the middle of that project.
That was a huge fall project.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to have an outfit out of Iowa Falls donate all the trucking for the dirt and the dirt because they needed a place to go with it, and about 80 loads. So it was huge for us.
So we're still working on that, and there's going to be some expense to that yet before we're done, but it definitely needed it. The track was so, just what we did use the track for, it just kept pushing that dirt out to the sides, and it got to the point where the water couldn't get away. So we've rebuilt that, and then in the process we've started to rebuild some of the drainage tile and intakes and stuff down there in the middle. So we're getting ahead of that flooding problem, I think, in a big way.
I was going to encourage you to, because of the drainage part of it.
Yeah.
And I know that probably would need to be a cooperative effort between the city and the fair.
The city has offered to reroute some of that drainage to the east, which includes the hospital and the
haven't they done some work there already, though?
No.
Oh, I thought they had.
It's on their schedule, I think.
Yeah. Well, and with probably the last 3 fairs, we've had rain. So what we've had to do was try to get rid of the mud and the slop that was on the track. We've scooped it off so we could get down to that harder surface so we could actually use the track, which then I think we added in some places 3 foot of dirt on top. Right in front of the grandstands we added 3 feet. So it was a huge process.
Yeah, but
Still not finished.
the same numbers of kids weight camps in Saturday.
We actually had 9 more. Yeah, we had almost 60.
Good.
So
Are any
that
of
was
those out of county cabs?
they
Or those
actually,
belong to
those were all ours. We did have one gal come from Crawford. She needed hers. If you want to take it to the state fair, it's got to be retinal imaged, and she had missed her way in. And so we're talking to her about, trying to say, hey, you should consider bringing your calf. Because we had a lot of kids, I bet you we had 5 kids from other counties call and had missed the deadline. So that was just that county kids. That's good.
So that's how they know that you haven't changed ear tags and
Yep.
tattoos.
Yeah. Yep, now they take a picture of their eye. And Steph and I were just looking at them before I came here. I didn't even realize they all look like a tree branch in there. It's got the inside of their eye, it's got the trunk and then the branches, and they're all different. Very interesting.
Have you done investigation on your drainage situation as far as are things working? Or I've always felt like we probably have some obstruction across the trees through the park. Have you checked that out?
Between the Fair Board and the City of Sac City, we've cleaned a major portion of that main drain tile that goes to the river through the park.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. In addition to that, we put a pit, a collector pit, if you will, right on the west edge of the fairgrounds, where the drain comes into that pit, and then it goes through the pit and then out through the city park to the river. So in the event when the river does get full, we can close that to keep it from backing up. So that, and then we've also, in the past, we've had permission to pump out of that pit over the road and into the park, you know, to get rid of our water while that gate's closed and it can't back up. So, yeah, there's a good joint effort between the Fair Board and the city of Sac City.
That outlet that's over in the river, how far up on the bank?
It's,
If the river's running normal height and
we're a foot and a half, 2 feet above normal.
Normal.
But a lot of times when the raccoons pull or the,
Yeah. Yeah.
And really the city and a lot of people within the SAC community they helped us.
Oh.
Those pumps and the tractors ran 24 hours before fair. And I think we literally got the water drained that Wednesday before fair started, just in time for the rain to come on Thursday. But boy, I mean, it just felt terrible because everybody was just exhausted and had done everything they could. And
We had the entire tractor pull track covered with plastic to keep it dry. And it was the pullers that canceled the show, not the Fair Board. We were ready.
And then I think we showed, because we actually didn't have the chuck wagons planned to come in on Sunday, but we had them for Friday and had to cancel, and had sent the sheep home that day. And so Saturday or was it Friday, we sat and talked Friday or Saturday morning, and we said, we've got to do something to show that we've made every attempt to put on the best fair we could, even though the weather, and for our season ticket holders and for the sponsors we have. That's when we called the chuck wagon racers and said, hey, you know, could you at least come tomorrow for us? Because we were originally supposed to have the figure 8, and there was no way that was going to go. So,
They came on Sunday afternoon.
yeah. But hopefully not another year like that.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate the effort that everyone makes, and you do an excellent job. It's really it is the best fair in the area. Even if I'm from Sac County, I'm happy to say that.
And I would just add, I don't know how long I've been on the Fair Board, but in the last 10 years, I know, with the exception of one request for help on a building, we've not asked for an increase in the annual funding request that we submitted. So this is the first.
Have you submitted to the foundation again for any project this year? Didn't
No.
have anything.
Well, and we kind of talked, we needed to make the track, you know, our priority this year, and just smaller upkeep more so than doing one big project, because we've done so many large projects in the last, since I started, and that's been 6 years. We've got just some smaller jobs that we need to kind of keep up with. We did receive, well, we will, by the time fair comes, a total of just about $10,000 from the state for funding as far as every fair. So,
Is that up or down from what you've been receiving?
it's usually right about $10,000, except for a few years ago, the legislator said that they would give us 15, and that was, I think that happened 1 year, about 3 years ago. So.
And we also, last year, we were named the best, tell them that.
Yes, for 2010, we were named the best new rodeo. I forgot about that. So the end of January, there's a bunch of us going to a banquet in Osceola to receive the award for the best new rodeo. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Of course, it didn't hurt to have the world champion team ropers here. Or one of them anyway, in his family. That was good.
well,
Oh, by the way, I can't go.
You can't go, it's fun. Right?
You do a lot of concrete work out there too.
Yeah, we've got some additional handicap parking and some additional handicap accessibility to the grandstand. So we're getting there.
It's very nice.
Done a lot of work. So,
Thank you.
and thank you always for your support. Okay?
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you. Guys have a good day.
Thanks, Lisa.